All right, we are here to talk about the um, resurgence of the RDL, the Ruskies.
The Ruski League, man. Oh,
Yes.
I just realized I messed something up. Let me
Oh,
fix that.
all right. Fix
Oh
it.
no, no, no. Just you can keep recording. I'm
Oh,
just
you
gonna
know, no,
fix.
yeah, yeah. But fix it, and then. But
There we go.
there are a couple things coming that were changed from last season. If you were part of our first season of RDL, and that is going to be two things. One, being Generation 9 was introduced, and with new Pokemon also comes with a new mechanic, and we are going to allow that new mechanic. Dan, you want to talk about terrestrializing?
Okay, terastallizing. I'm sure most of you guys know what it is, but just for all of us dummies, terastallization is just a mon changing its type. It could be changing into the same type, or it can change it to a different type, both for defensive and offensive purposes. Um, so, for an example, you could take Garchomp. It's weak to Ice and Fairy, so you can make its Tera Steel. It would resist both those typings. You can also do it offensively, strictly, and basically get double stab. So if you don't know what stab um, is if you use a move that shares a type with the Pokemon, it gets boosted, but it gets the damage output is boosted.
Increases, yeah.
Yeah. So then if you Terra into the same type, the damage is boosted even further. So let's say we'll take what's a good Gen 1 single type? Blastoise. Um if you were to Terra Water and Blastoise, its Hydro Pump would hit effectively double as hard as any mon who is not a water type and using Hydro Pump.
Right. So essentially, terrestrializing is any Pokemon can now be any type, and it's any singular type. So a Mon that is two types would change um, into a single type.
Yes.
And the way we are doing it in this league is one Pokemon um, gets it, gets to use it, um, and it is established from the beginning, from the get go, what it is, and which Pokemon it will be, and what type as well. So when you want to, you can try different things. We have um, we're gonna do a Tera trade where you can trade and put it on different Mons, or change the type to kind of test things out. But essentially, what it is any Pokemon can now be any type. But for the sake of draft, we are um, telling everyone knows what it is. Like we know our teams, we know the opponent's team, we will know their Terra captain, as we call it, and we will know their Terra type.
Yes. Yes. All of that.
Yeah. So it's
Um,
it's very weird at first, but it's kind of cool, especially when you know you can be like, oh, it's the type that I see, or the established type we talked about in the beginning. So there's not a lot of mystery to it. It adds a just a different level of play, which we found to be actually really exciting.
yes. 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 And we don't want to open it up to any typing because that would make prep useless and
Yeah.
would probably make it generally unfun for everyone involved.
Yep. So the next thing that is coming with our second season is we are changing to a point system. Last season we were a tiering system. This time we are a point system. What that means is um, instead of picking two from each tier, you now have an allocated amount of points that you get to draft your Pokemon. And it's kind of a split in between last year's tiers and point systems. As we can see on the screen, we do still have a Mega, a Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, and Tier 5. So it's split. Like last season, it was two of each and one Mega. This time, it's one of each, and then there's free. What those free means is we have an allocated points of 400, and those points are for everybody. Uh, and so when we go to the Mon sheet, and thank you to Daniel, anytime you see these links, you can click on that Pokemon and view their stats, view their competitive stuff. Very great, putting a lot of work in. So say thank you to Daniel. But as you see at the top, 180 points, 120, 100, 60, and 40. that's the same tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. Now they have a point allocation. So you have 400 points to kind of decide what to do with your last 4 picks. And the math works in different ways, right? If you have 400, you can pick 4 tier 3s, right? But obviously we like tier 1s because they're the best. That's why they're in tier 1. Tier 2s are good. Tier 3s are still good. Tier 4, tier 5 are if we have to, right? That's just the way it is.
And that's not saying that there's no good mons in tier 4 and tier 5, but that's just a generalized.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yes.
their value, it's a value. That's why they're tier 1 or they're tier 5. Better
Yes.
stats, better stuff. So, the math can work out in different ways, and we have 2 ways of increasing our points. Last season in the megas, there was tier 1 through tier 4, and you picked any one of those. This season, if we are incentivizing picking a lower tier mega, because tier 1s have the highest value because they're rated as the best. And in tiering system, tier 1s are always better. There's no incentive. But with points, you now get bonus points for picking a lower tier. That doesn't mean that these megas are worse or bad. It's just they're valued differently. So, getting a Mega Beedrill, per se, would add 40 bonus points to your total, which changing your draft total to be 440. Now you have 440 to go through your 4 picks. You have extra points. And then same goes down a tier, you add a point 60, and tier 1s are 0. So if you pick a tier 1, that's okay, because we're all at the standard 400. The second way, Daniel, you want to talk about the second way we get points increase?
Are you talking about the Tera?
Yep.
All right. So at the top of the tier list, you'll see next to the how many points something would cost, how many points you would gain if you were to make that mon your Terra captain. So let's say you want a super strong Terra captain. You pick, I don't know, uh, for example, Garchomp again. You get no points because that's a tier 1. You're not incentivized to get it. It's not meaning that it's bad in any way. You just don't get any bonus points.
Correct.
The reason why you don't get any bonus points is because it's really good. But if you go down here to tier 3, 4, and 5, they give you more points. So this is more points in order for you to draft higher tier mons in your free slots back on the draft.
And so whether you get a low tier mega or and or a lower tier Terra captain, you can increase your points, because a lower tier Terra captain has a lot of value. As well, you can pick any of the Pokemon, say in tier 3, because that's where you actually get, for Terra captain specifically, where you get an actual point value. Celebi is an easy example. It's a mon that is grass and psychic, which is weak to U-turn, weak to bug. You can make it your Terra captain, which then allows you to change its typing and what resists bug. You can make it steel. That's per se, it's not the best one. I would say what, rock is the best?
I think rock is the best for Celebi.
Rock. And then you lose a terrible weakness. So you now don't have to worry about having such a bad weakness, right? It makes the Pokemon better. And then you also get 48 bonus points because it is in tier 3. And same thing lower and lower. Whether you want to add a type to Ditto, who knows? But you get those bonus points. So the maximum points that you can have is getting a tier 5 Tera, which is plus 80, and a tier 4 Mega, which is plus 80. So you can essentially get 560, and then that will go through your free picks. And then you can work out the math. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, Tier 5. Simple to
Yes.
where you pick them on. How many points is that? You minus that from your total and move on.
So yeah, and these points only go to these free slots.
Yes.
The rest of these are all free. We've said it once, we're going to keep saying it. These tiers here are all free. Um, you just get to pick anything from these tiers, which are still marked alongside the points in the tier list.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. The things that actually have a tier, that's a designated part where um, you pick from that tier. The free
Yeah.
means any tier that you want. So you can pick 4 tier 5s. You'll have a lot of points left over, but you can
Yes.
do that.
You definitely can.
Daniel, you want to run through a draft example, and we can do different points as we move on.
Sure. So do you want to do
Yeah,
like an actual draft? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
We'll do it. We'll do it top to bottom,
Okay, yeah,
and
we'll
then
just do
we'll
it.
we'll make sure our Terra captain is within the first 5 tiers so that we can do points and show it all. So I'll pick a random mega. I'll pick a tier 3. I'll go mega Pidgeot.
Okay, I will pick, um, let's see here. Why do I have to make things difficult for myself? I will go Mega Aerodactyl.
Okay. So with Pidgeot is a tier 3 here. The bonus points I get is 60. So that means right now my free point total would be 460.
Pretty sure I spelled that right.
Um,
And I would, since Mega Aerodactyl is a tier 2 Mega, I would get a bonus of 20 points.
yes.
Why did
Um,
my, why did my,
then I'll go to a tier 1 and we will pick Heatran. So Heatran, nothing special about it. It's a tier 1 pick, and it goes in that slot, and everything moves along. So you don't need to worry about it. If that's that tier, you pick in that tier, boom. And Daniel, why don't you draft from tier 4 this round? Because we do not have to, in the draft, you do not have to pick top to bottom. You can pick any Pokemon at any point, whatever you want.
okay, yeah, I'll draft a tier 4. Let's grab a tier 4. Let's look back at this tier list. Come on, Daniel, be faster than this. Let's grab Belly Bolt.
Okay. I will then look at a tier 3, and we'll go down to the bottom. Tinkaton. I like that one.
And then I can go back up to tier 1 right now, and I'll grab a
Yep.
tier 1. And I'll grab, how about Excadrill?
Okay. I will get my tier 2. Or, I'll get my tier 5. I value my tier 5, whatever, and I want Muck. Um, and that way no one else can have it because we could pick in any tier.
Yes, sir. In tier 2, I'll grab Sylveon.
Okay. Now I'm going to draft another tier 1. How can I do that? I'm going to use my free slot. And like I said, we can draft in any order. You can pick both tier 1s or a mega and then a tier 2 and then a tier 2 and a tier 2. Any order you want. So I'm going to go to tier 1 and I'm going to draft. Let's find a good Mon. Chansey. I'll go into my slot, put Chansey. Chansey is a tier 1 at the top. Tier 1 is worth 180. So to keep track, I'll put 180 there, and then 180 minus 460 is 260. So that's how many points left I have for this backup. But I also have not done my Tera captain that possibly could increase points. Your Terra Captain can be in any of these slots. Don't worry about it has to be in a certain slot. Any of these slots except Mega.
Yes, sir. Um, there we go. I'll go down and draft my tier 3. I will grab Overquill. And I'm
Okay.
going to make this thing my Terra Captain.
Oh. Do you have a type for it?
Flying.
Terra Flying Overquill. Now, in normal mons, Overquill is a tier 3. These are done by alphabetical for you to find it. Terra bonus points is 40, so Daniel adds 40 points to his total. And as he has not used any of his free slots, add that total to 440, which is 480. I will also I'll do a tier 5, my tier 5 Terra Captain, and I am going to do Terra Electric Boltund. Oh, why did I do flying? I thought I was thinking of you. And what this does is, if you are to pick the same type, Boltund is an electric type, and I'm picking electric type as a Terra, it increases the power of that move, of electric type moves, even more than normally. And Boltund is a tier 5, right there. Tier 5 Terra is plus 80, so I get to add 80, which then is 360.
Alright, I'm going to use one of my first free slots, and I'm going to draft Urshifu Single Strike.
There are 2 Urshifus, that's why he specified. There's a single strike and a rapid strike. I have a tier 2 slot open, and I will get Klefki. I'm going to quickly grab a tier 4 Cloth to fill out those because the points are what we want to talk about. So get a tier 5.
Yes, I will get a grab tier 5. Or Beetle.
So one thing you have to remember is you cannot go over your points, but you can go under. So 360 divided by 3 is 120, 120, 120. So I can do that. A plus 60 mega plus a plus 80 Terra type of our original 400 makes my total into what is that, 540? Yep, some 540. Yep.
Yes.
So I can do that, or let's see that we want to do options. I can do 180, 180 in this other slot. That means I have to get to 540. This is 60 above. Oh, well, I'm done.
Yeah, this right here, it only costed you, it gave you 40 points because it cost you 40, and then you got plus 80. Yes.
Okay, so I want to get to 540. I forgot I put Boltund in there. I thought that was empty. Chansey's a tier 1, this is a tier 4, that's the prices. Okay, but I do have a total of 540, because plus 80, plus 60, and minus 40 here. I am at 520. So this is a good example. With this, I am under my 540, but I cannot go above a tier 2 in that 120, because a tier 1 is 180. And I made my Terra Captain, and I really don't want to change that, but that's fine. I am under points in 520, but if I get a tier 1, which can be Clefable, and a tier 2, which is 120, if you look at the points at the top, you could always find out what it would be, and then get Diggersby. That will be my team. And we check the points, 520. I'm under the 540 mark, which means my team is legal.
So I am going to be filling out mine now. So let's see. I just use another 100 points for Shaman. So I have 200 points remaining for 2 slots. like he was doing, I can split it up in many different ways. I could get another uh, tier 2, and then I would be able to get a tier 4 for 60 points. That would leave me with 20 points left over. I can grab two tier 3s for the 200 points, or I could run with it with the tier 2 and a tier 4 and leave my 20 points remaining. Because later in the season, let's say I want to trade um, Orbeetle for Cloth from a Heil. I would be able to do that because I'd be able to give him Orbeetle and my 20 remaining points in order to make that trade.
Yep. Orbeetle is a tier 5, which is worth 40. Cloth is a tier 4, which is worth 60. Because Daniel had points left over from the draft, it is still usable. Therefore, if he trades it, that is viable. And then I would be getting a tier 5. Um, and then I would just have an extra points increased because I went from 60 to 40. So I would actually be gaining points, and then I can make any changes I want to do with that. But that is a example of the stuff that's kind of coming. Um, it does take a little bit to think about, but it's very fun and exciting. We like this stuff, and gives a lot of different things that we can try. Instead of being just one and only or two of each, you get to do a bunch of different things. You can actually have a lot of lower tier mons that you just like, um, and use them, and then have an advantage in other parts, instead of being restricted. Any last thoughts, Daniel?
I think we pretty much covered it.
All right. So that is your introduction. If you have any questions, always add us in the general chat. Um, Read any links that we have in any other channels. Um, but yeah,
I will be making a copy of this draft example thing for people to look at. Um, so if you guys want me to make you a personal copy, I can send you one, and you can fill it in as you want.
yes. All right.